Fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests, are you ready for a great contest? Yeah! Bob Blattman, leave Charlie at home. Leave Charlie at home, Bob Blattman.
Spooky up here. Kind of shaky. Well, hello. Hello. Leave Charlie at home. Who's Charlie? Nobody knows. Every one of you knows Charlie. You speak to him probably every day. Yeah, you know. Well, let me remind you. He's a little fella, kind of heavy set, and he crawls up on your shoulder. And he whispers in your ear. And he tells you things like, well, you look fat today. You really want to do this? You know what she said. You know what she meant. You want to know how we're going to get even? He comes and he helps you along. Whenever you're angry about something, and you want to strike out, he's there. And he helps you with your talking. And when you say something bad, he encourages you along. Do you know who Charlie is now? Little hands here. No, you don't know. Oh, okay, we know who Charlie is. Charlie is an invention of my grandmother, who was raised through the Depression. And she had 10 children. 6 of those 10 were girls that went to school. And every day she would call the girls out and line them up before they go to school and do an inspection on them. And make sure that they had 3 things. 1, that they had clean clothes on. Because your mood is very important. If you have dirty clothes on, even though they look clean, you know they're dirty. Oops, get away from that thing. And it hurts your mood. And you're down on yourself and you feel dirty. So it's important that you have your clean clothes on. The other thing that you would do is make sure you have a smile on your face. And she'd tell the girls, don't go out without a smile. It's cold out there. You have to have your smile on to heat up the world. Your smile is your reflection outward. If you smile at somebody, they're going to smile back to you. If you're grouchy, they're going to be grouchy back to you. So you have to have a smile. The third thing she told him to do is stand up straight and get your shoulders back, because you got to kick Charlie off your shoulder. That's the important thing. And if they were walking along and their back started to come down, because Charlie does that when he's on your back and he starts talking to you, you notice your shoulders go down. Tend to walk a little bit like this. If she saw that, she'd call the girls back in the house, send them up to the room, and yell at them, and leave Charlie at home. That's the way it went. You ever notice that if you're in a bad mood, nothing seems to go right? But if you're in a happy mood, everything seems to go okay. That's a proverb. Proverbs 15:15 says that. So, if you go out of the house, you make sure Charlie is at home. Make sure he's not on your back. When you look up at that mirror, get them shoulders back and make sure Charlie is at home. driving down the street and you're in a bad mood. Have you ever noticed that every red light in town knows you're in a bad mood? How is that? Does Charlie operate those red lights? I often wondered that. The other thing I want to tell you about is a person I call Coach. I had a job for a while, got a brand new job, got hired on as an instructor. And I'm looking at the curriculum. Man, this curriculum is great. This guy knew his stuff. So I said, what happened to the guy that wrote this? His name was Coach. And he said, we had to let him go. And I said, why would you let anybody that could write like that go? And he said, well, see, he was coaching a baseball game one time, and there was a bad call. And he couldn't let that go. He talked about that bad call to every member here at the factory. Then when he was talking to the students about it, we had to warn him. And then when the customer complained, we had to let him go. Anger will do that for you. Anger will steal everything from you. And anger comes from Charlie. So once again, I tell you, when you go out that door, you look into that mirror, get them shoulders back, and leave Charlie at home. Mr. President.
Our second speaker, Steve Hand. Are you driven? Are you driven? Steve Hand.
Are you driven? Are you really driven? Mr. Contest Master, distinguished guest, fellow Toastmasters. What I mean by driven is, do you have something that motivates you? What is it that inspires you, that drives you? I'm here to say that all of us have something that drives us. Sometimes it's not quite what we want it to be. I tell you, I am so driven. Okay, now you got to help me out with this. I am so driven.
How driven are you?
I sometimes drive my wife crazy. I am so driven that sometimes it's little things. Like, you got to be front in line. You can't go 65 on the interstate because that's where the slow people drive. You got to be in that fast lane. With games, I've got to do this puzzle in record time. Another example. How many of you have seen this show? The father in there, he's hooking up those Christmas lights, and then boom, everything goes black. He says, freeze, nobody move. That man is driven. He wants to set a record time of changing out those fuses. And then when they're driving down from the store, and he gets that flat tire, he turns to his wife, time me. That man is driven. How many of you know Facebook? Yeah, I'm driven on Facebook. You know Farmville? Yeah, I know some of you are on Farmville because you're neighbors. Facebook is so easy to be driven. The good thing about Facebook is that you can't be driven alone. You have to have neighbors. You have to have friends. So they all can drive with you. The first time I was driven in Facebook was Farmville. And then I drove to Mafia Wars. And then my daughter drove me to Tiki Farm I think I'm okay there because I can't get off that island. But I'm so driven, I've got to make the highest level I can. I've got to get those neighbors. Because as individuals, we can only go so far in any of those games in Facebook. But when we have neighbors, when we have mafia brothers, we can conquer the world. But on our own, we can only conquer half of it. So we need to be driven for each other. When I started working up this speech, I thought, well, yeah, I'm really driven, but I'm driven at silly little games, puzzles. I thought, what is it that really drives us? Or what is it that should drive us? Is it our family? Our religion? Our work? What is it that really gets us motivated? Our purpose in life. What is it that we do that takes up most of our time? And I started thinking, I spend a lot of time on that computer. I don't spend a whole lot of time with my family. What is it that drives me? One day, we're going to find that one thing that really means something to us. Not the little games, not the being first in line, not being on the computer 111 days in a row, fighting 385 times in that one day. That was awesome. I think that's a personal record. Put those things aside. We need to have something that's really purposeful. You see the famous people, they are driven, they have a purpose. They know what it is that they want to do. Well, when I grow up, I want to be able to find my purpose so that I can be driven. Mr. Contest Master.
Our third speaker this evening, Jeff Williams. One day, Jeff Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, with a loud and enthusiastic voice, please repeat after me. It's all about me.
It's all about me.
Mr. Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. Is it being selfish to take one day out of the week and call it me time? Many of us in this room are being pulled in so many different directions that it is no longer fun. For example, the boss wants you to work late tonight, but your spouse wants you at home to take care of your children. You have a paper that is due within the next 48 hours, but the VP of Education wants to know if you can do a speech in less than 12. For some strange reason, people think that you are superhuman because of your ability to multitask and make it look simple. Well, if you're one of these people that has this special ability, let me be the first to tell you that you are not superhuman. I used to think that I was Superman until I encountered a piece of kryptonite called depression. I remember it like yesterday. As a Chief Master Sergeant in the United States Air Force, people thought I was the man with all the answers. As an ordained minister, people will often seek me out for answers to life's perplexing problems. As a husband and a father, I'm the provider and the protector. To others, I'm a son, brother, mentor, and teacher. I'm honored to be all of these things. However, I became so overwhelmed trying to be all these things that I broke down and I cried out, what about me? I realized realized I was in trouble, and I sought some medical help. While I was in the doctor's office, he said, "Chief Williams, what's the problem?" Instead of using words, all I could muster were tears. For 15 minutes, I cried uncontrollably. Once I regained my composure, I was able to share with him everything that was on my heart. And finally, he said, "Jeff, you cannot be everything to everyone. You are stressed and borderline depressed. I can give you medication, but that's not what you need. What you need is to take one day and just relax." Hello, I don't have time to relax. He said, "Oh, but you do." According to Sidney J. Harris, an American journalist, he said the time to relax is when you don't have time for it. I couldn't argue with him, and neither can you. Ladies and gentlemen, my purpose here tonight is to persuade all of you to take one day for yourself and just relax. I realize that this may be a foreign concept for some of you, and you may be asking the question, what am I going to do on this one day? Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because I have 3 things I believe you will find very appealing. First, I want you to encourage yourself. Unfortunately, we live in a world where people will not say thank you or job well done. We have to be able to encourage ourselves and say, "Hey, I'm not bad at all." Donald Lawrence, a gospel recording artist, wrote a song called "Encourage Yourself." He said, no matter how you feel, you need to learn how to speak a word that would just uplift your spirit. Let's practice that. The person that is sitting next to you, look at them. And I want you to pretend that they are a mirror. And I want you to say this, okay? Say, You are delicious. Oh, we're not finished. Kiss yourself. Now I realize some of you do this every morning. You would love to stand in front of the mirror all day. But we can't do that. You know why? Because we have something else to do. We have to find that place of refuge. The place of refuge is that place of peace and tranquility. The place where all the cares of the world are left behind. For us men, it could be the man cave. You know what I'm talking about? And to you ladies, it could be a nice day at the spa. Ladies, take a deep breath in. Exhale. Imagine whose hands you want on you right now. Maya Angelou, poet and author, she said, music is my refuge. I crawl in between the space of the notes and I turn my back to loneliness. Where is your place of refuge? Where is the place where you can just be you? That's important because that's the third thing I want you to do. Just be you. Take off the CEO hat, the mommy hat, the daddy hat, and even the Toastmaster hat. Sometimes doing all these things can become very stressful. According to the American Institute on Stress, 62% of Americans indicated that their stress is a result of the roles of the job they perform. That is a lot of people. And I do not want any of you in this room to be a part of that statistic. Don't lose your identity. I remember talking to a friend of mine. I said, "Who are you?" She said, "I'm my husband's wife, my daughter's mother, my mother's daughter." In other words, she lost her identity. I shared with her these concepts. And 2 weeks later, she ran up to me. She said, "Jeff," I said, "What?" "I know who I am." I said, "Who are you?" She said, "I am Marcia." "Kathy, who are you?" "Bob, who are you?" If you don't know who you are, take one day. Take one day to encourage yourself. Find your place of refuge where you can just leave all the cares of the world behind. And finally, just be you, the masterpiece that God created. Besides, if God the one who created the heavens and the earth and all that dwells therein, if he can after 6 days take 1 day and call it rest, then surely we can take 1 day. This contest master.
Our fourth speaker tonight, Ramesh Chandrani. 5 more minutes, please. 5 more minutes, please. Ramesh Chandrani.
Five more minutes. These are the words that ring in my ears. Early in the morning, that is 6 a.m. I must admit, my alarm goes off. I twist, I turn, and believe me when I tell you this, my hands know exactly where the snooze button is, even in the dark. I tell to myself, 5 more minutes. I have given many a 5 more minutes for myself. Mornings are cold. It's a struggle, to put it mildly, to leave the snuggle of one's warm blanket and go stand in the shower. And you don't want to know after how many slaps at the snooze button do I manage to get up. Yet I do it day in, day out. I get ready, I go to work, where challenges of yesterday, cumulative with surprise curveballs of today, awaits me. I go, I struggle, I push, I pull, I complain, and I hope to succeed. By lunchtime, I go home, pick up my daughter, drop her off at the preschool, and head back to work and continue my struggle against the challenges at work. By 3:30, I go to school, pick up my daughter, run a few errands, do some grocery shopping if need be, and head home. After having had my dinner, I would like to sit on the couch and watch my favorite TV shows, my favorite documentaries. Sometime after, my wife starts. Niveda, that's my second daughter. Niveda was waiting for you to come home. She wanted to go to the park. Why don't you take her to the park? Almost impulsively I say, 5 more minutes. After many a 5 more minutes, and remind us about how a walk in the park will be good for my health rather than sitting on the couch and watching TV, I get up with a sigh. Can't I have some time for myself? Do things that I wanted to do without being bothered? Sure, I can take my daughter to the park. I would love to. Can't I do it tomorrow? Or the day after? How about the weekend? With similar thought, did I take my daughter to the park, where I found myself sitting on a park bench next to a man. After a few words of pleasantries, hearing my daughter shriek with happiness going down the slide, I said, that's my little girl in red sweater, having time of her life going down the slide. Looking at her, he said, she's a cute looking girl. Then he turned, that's my daughter in white dress, playing with her bike. We started having a conversation about house prices in the neighborhood, job market. After a while, looking at his watch, he got up, called his daughter. Melissa, are you ready to go home now? Dad, 5 more minutes, please. He said, okay. He nodded his head and sat down. We continued our conversation about how new houses are popping up in our neighborhood, even in the middle of a bad market trend. The conversation went well over 5 minutes. The man got up, called his Melissa, can you go home now? Melissa played it again. Dad, 5 more minutes, just 5 more minutes. He smiled, nodded his head, and sat down. Looking at all this, I remarked, you certainly are a patient father. For that, the man replied with traces of sadness. Our older brother Tommy was killed when he was playing alone with his bike by a drunk driver. I never spent much time with Tommy. Now, I would give anything to have just 5 more minutes with him. She thinks she's having 5 more minutes to play. But I get 5 more minutes to watch my daughter being happy. After a while, the man left with his daughter, who by the time had a big, broad smile on her face, after having had all the extra minutes that she wanted to have with her bike. Life is about choices, priorities. What are your priorities? Let me relate this to you with a poem that I read quite recently from Gitanjali by Rabindranath Tagore. It goes like this. A day will come when my sight of this earth shall be lost. Life will take its leave in silence, drawing the last curtain over my eyes. Yet, stars will watch at night, mornings will rise as before, hours will heave like sea waves, casting up both pleasures and pain. When I think of all this, the end barrier of moments breaks. I see by the light of death a world with its careless treasures. Rare is its lowliest of seed. Rare is its meanest of lives. All the things that I longed for in vain, all the things that I got, come pass. Let me but truly possess things that I spurned and overlooked. Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, give someone you love 5 more minutes of your time today.
Our next speaker, Debbie Hyde, carrots, eggs, and coffee beans. Carrots, eggs, and coffee beans. Debbie Hyde.
Haven't we all been faced with adversity the past few years? Job losses, loss in savings. What about the technology that confronts and frustrates us? What about standing up here on stage trying to deliver a punchline and no one gets it? We have all been faced with adversity, and just when you think you have done all that you can, you get hit with one more thing, right? What do we do? How do we deal with adversity? Do we act or do we react? Contest master, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. That topic of adversity was the subject of a story by Mary Sullivan when she asked the question, what are you? A carrot, an egg, or a coffee bean? If you take any one of those 3 and boil it in water for 15 minutes, what do you get? The carrot, initially fresh and crisp, becomes mushy and unattractive. The egg, initially fragile, becomes hardened through the same pressure. But the coffee bean, fragrant of its own, doesn't change. Instead, it emits its aroma to all the water surrounding it. changing the water, not itself. You see, each one acts differently when presented with the same pressure. Back to Mary Sullivan's question, what are you? A carrot, an egg, or the coffee bean? I would have to respond, I've been all three of them. When I started my career, I was very much the carrot. You see, I graduated from college, and I, quite frankly, was the best in the business. Ask me. On a scale of 10, I was way up here at 11. And I couldn't wait to have everyone bask in my brilliance. On top of that, I spent 2 years on the East Coast, you know, where everything is better. They have more knowledge, more systems. It's just, quite frankly, better. When I came back to St. Louis, it was like a throwback in time. I thought, what are these people doing? You know, it's interesting. My manager and coworkers didn't seem to get my superior knowledge. They reminded me very quickly that I was a lowly contractor, an artist, only useful when overtime was required. That took my self-confidence into mush, and I kind of cowered from the limelight. I decided this was not going to happen again. So I became an egg. I wanted position power. And I couldn't wait to get at that men's club mentality that was telling me I couldn't do it because I was a petite little female. So I worked. And when they said work harder, I worked harder, faster, stronger than anybody out there. I used that East Coast methodology, but I didn't tell anyone. It worked. Pretty soon, everyone liked me. Management gave me the top jobs. I went to Boca Raton. I went to Vancouver, Hawaii, Palm Desert. I was at the top of my game. But then it happened. I was merely demonstrating my superior skills to a coworker who I was hoping to date. Sure, I was a little rude to the contractors, but they knew their place. I was there before. He lambasted me in a way I will never forget. I cannot forget that moment when I thought, you self-righteous son of a, do you know what I did to get where I am today? Do you know what it's like to be a female and have to wear these 4-inch heels just to say eye to eye with someone? You have a lot of gall. That took a little longer to get over. A divorce, a remarriage, a couple of kids, a separation. Suddenly I went on the spiritual journey. I was about to become a coffee bean. I learned that it wasn't all about position power and financial gain. I learned it was about forgiveness. I learned it was about giving to others without any expectation of return. I started turning down jobs from my company because my family was more important. I had a coworker that told me, you will never get anywhere working for that guy. I didn't care. Sundays became a special day, and I started teaching Sunday school. It was then I realized my importance for who I am, not for what everybody else was expecting me to be, but for me. Today, I'm an independent businesswoman, working to have a successful career. Oh, I could go back to be that in America, where that created the opportunity for me to be that top producer and get that corner office. Yeah, I could tell them I'm going to get there in 2 years. But you know, mush was not very comfortable for me. I could be that egg, quietly watching all the top producers to discover their skills. And when it was the time, I would talk to management and I would get their approval, and I would get there. But that slick shell and turgid heart wasn't very attractive either. No, I choose to be that coffee bean. I have a lot of experience with a lot of things, and I like the idea that both good and bad I can bring to the party, and I can share with all of you. When I can mix all that together, it is in fact a very sweet aroma. My idea of success is to be able to share and not worry about that competition. So I'm going to ask you one more time. What are you when you face adversity? Are you a carrot, an egg, or will you join me and be a coffee bean? Contest master.
I call this the family reunion part of the contest. It's the time that we get to learn a little bit more about our Toastmasters brothers and sisters. I will be calling our speakers back to the lectern in the order that they spoke. Bob Blackman, please join me up front. Come on down. Is Charlie still back there?
I noticed how I milked that applause coming down here. I mean, I just looked like I was running, but I was going slow.
The chariots of fire, you know, with the shoulders back. I took note of your employer.
Yes?
You said, my wife.
Oh.
Explain that, please.
My wife is not here at the moment. Thank you. But she is in a room right up here. I bet you she can hear this. I thought that when I retired, I'd be doing everything I wanted to do. No, don't work that way. I found the importance of the litter box. The importance of killing spiders.
Stuff does happen.
Should see my cats. The importance of honeydews. There's always a list of honeydews. And I just look up and say, I'm retired, dear. Thank you. That's when the fight starts. I think that's about all I want to talk about before she overhears this.
Let us know what club, area, division.
What? Numbers. Club. Cave Springs. Over in St. Charles, Missouri. Club number BR549. That's right. And we're in, what else did you want?
Area 20.
Thank you.
Division B.
Very good.
Throw your voice well. You mark down interest, collecting. Besides bruises, what do you like to collect?
Oh, I got into collecting antiques. Antiques is something that goes into a room that your kid moved out of, and it just grows in there. That's what I do. Let's see, pocket knives. I like pocket knives. Those were fun for a while, and then I forgot about them, put them away. Binoculars, those were fun for a while. Then I put those away. And I think I've took up every one of my kids' rooms.
On behalf of the district, thanks for participating in the International Speech Contest. Steve Hand, come on down. Club number, area, division.
9793. Area. Charlie.
6. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll be here all.
Right? No. And division is C now?
Yes.
C. C.
Says your occupation, searcher of Waldo. Explain.
That's what I do. I look for things. I am an imagery analyst, so I look at pictures all day and try to find things, little things in big spaces. If you've ever been to a port, I work with Transcom, Transportation Command. So anytime anything in the world happens that needs an American presence, it all goes through Transcom. So the Haiti crisis, we were the ones that sent all the people and all the equipment and all that, and tried to get it to Haiti. Unfortunately, when we got there, or before we got there, because that was my job, was to look at where they're supposed to go and tell them it was okay to go there. Well, we looked at it and there was no pier in the port. It had all fallen into the ocean. So then it was, okay, we can fly in there. So I looked at that, and there's no control tower. So we had to say, where else are we going to go? So then I looked around the rest of the country, and okay, there's some places over on that other part of the island that we can sail to and drive all the way across the island to get stuff there. So when it's, where's Waldo? That's what I do. I sit at my computer and play games all day. Because that's how I'm driven.
Tell us a little bit about your interest. You mark down here interest. Whatever is bad for you is your interest.
That's pretty much it. Candy, ice cream, fattening stuff, donuts, I like all that stuff. I mean, why wouldn't you? The stuff that's good for you, like lettuce. What we used to do in kids is we take that lettuce leaf, put a little vinegar on there, and then sugar, and then roll it all up. So sugar is good. It's good for you. That artificial pink stuff, the blue stuff, that'll give you cancer. Don't even get that.
On behalf of the district, thank you for participating in the International Speech Contest. Jeff Williams, come on down. Club number, area, division.
Club number 1159447, Primary Conversations, Area 15, Division F.
Down here it says you like to spin, and you're an ordained pastor.
Yes.
Have you had ever to preach and spin at the same time?
Yes. All the time. Get on the bike, sit down, do it! No, that's preaching. No, really. Now, spinning, for those of you who don't know, is the aerobic stationary bicycle, Robinson bicycle. It's pretty intense. We're really operating at anaerobic levels, meaning your heart rate is up for about 40, 45 minutes. And people be praying that I would stop, but God is with me, so I can't. But this is one of those forms of exercises that I love to do. Keeps me fit, so I can always be effective when I'm doing ministry,
Do you ever get out of the gym and ride bikes, actually moving, spinning exercise?
I try not to, but occasionally I will because of asthma and all that stuff. But I did participate in the Moonlight Ramble. I'm like, what in the world is going on here? So we ride through St. Louis midnight, and it was quite interesting and great experience. I was surprised I made it the whole way, being that I don't do a lot of outside cycling, but it was a great experience. Met some great people. It's a blast, One day for myself.
On behalf of the district, thank you for participating in the International Speech Contest. Ramesh Chandrani, come on down. number, area, division.
Club number 7349, Shelter Insurance Sunrise Toastmaster Club, Area 21, Division E. Create your own destiny, District 8.
Your interest is a great combination, or interesting combination, fishing and table tennis. Tell us a little bit about your passion about both and how that may go together.
Fishing, it's my interest and curiosity since I was a small boy. But it's a curfew because you have to go to the pond and things like that. In India, it's risky. So my grandma held the curfew control over me. After coming here to US, I see that as a big passion here in the country, and there are lots of anglers who do that. And my interest grew by the number of weed that I pulled from the pond and lake that I tried. There's another gentleman here sitting with his, he's trying with bread. I'm trying all the kind of lures that I brought from the Walmart and all Bass Pro shops. And I'm pulling weed after weed. So, the thing that drives me about fishing is that I want to catch fish and I want to learn. I want to learn the niche, the panache of the particular sport. And with regard to table tennis, that's one game which allows me to do my exercise in an enjoyable way, not as a chore, not as something like that you have to do, that you have to artificially motivate yourself. And it allows me to do indoor, so I can do very well in any season. And it's a game of quick responses, so it also sharpens your mind, and I enjoy it.
Another interest is watching documentaries. What types of documentaries do you like the best?
Documentaries, those which can invoke the intellectual curiosity. That's what drives me. Documentaries that can show different threads weaving through different culture, be it of religious order or be it of mythology. And one of my favorite gurus that I consider is Joseph Campbell. He's from here, US. He can make bone, an archaeological bone, a folklore, reverberate with life. So basically through PBS, thanks to PBS, I got hooked into documentaries. Now, most of my collections are documentaries rather than movies.
On behalf of the district, thank you for participating in the International Speech Contest. Debbie Hyde, come on down. Club number, area, division.
79539B.
Debbie and I are in the same home club, so I get to pick on her a little bit more. Debbie, tell us about, she can do it too. Tell us a little bit about your family passion or family hobby that is sort of turned into another business. That's, beesness.
It's sticky, but it's sweet. My husband is an apiary. That is not a monkey. An apiary is a beekeeper. We have today 8 hives, and it's not the kind that itch, but they sting. We started with a beekeeping business about 3 years ago now. He had been reading up about bees, and a good friend of mine called me up one day and said her husband no longer wanted to have his beehives. Do you want to get them? Do you want them? I said, okay. She said, good, come and get them. We live in far west St. Rose County in Wildwood, almost in Franklin County. The bees were in Chesterfield. I'm going to ask you, a beehive contains 60,000 little stinging bees. How do you get them from Chesterfield to Wildwood? Carefully, yes. The day we got them moved, it was interesting because we were told we need to do this early in the morning because that's when they're napping. The guy that said that he was going to help us was from the Eastern Missouri Beekeeping Association. He said, be there at 9 o'clock. We were there at 9 o'clock. He got there at 9:30. Then he proceeded to tell us all the folklore about bees. Tick-tock, now it's 10 o'clock and the bees are moving. I'm thinking, okay. He said early. I was thinking 7 o'clock. The bees are neatly situated, very handy to us to pick up. Let's say go down in the woods about 20 feet, middle of the woods, there's no paths, it's downhill, it's rocky. The old hive is sitting there. We have to get it up the hill into the truck. We means my husband and this other guy. Me, I'm behind a camera with a long lens and I'm about as far away as me and Jeff right now. That was too close. They were okay with that. They went and got the bees. They put it in a wheelbarrow. They're wheeling it up the hill, and guess what happened with the wheelbarrow? Okay, well, they were all suited up in bee equipment, so they have full body thing. My husband is borrowing the bee suit from these people that gave us the bees. What we didn't know is there were holes in the gloves, there was openings in the veil, and there were holes in the long suit. They did finally get it up into the truck.
Did you get the point?
No, it was a stinger of the thing. They got it into the truck, but now the bees are really riled up. We've got to get them all over to Wildwood. But half of them are inside the truck and half of them are outside. We shut the back end of it. It was a camper shell. And you would not believe what it looked like when we got to our house. The windows were moving. There were so many bees outside of the hive, the whole windows were moving. We got there, backed it up to where we were going to deliver it. We asked the guy, now what? He says, we wait. When they finally had enough chutzpah to open up the back, man, those guys were coming at the two people that were standing there. I was back again, up in the woods, a little bit further away this time. But finally they got the hive moved out into the field where it belonged, but the truck was still covered with bees. It stayed out in the field for a day. We finally got most of them out there. Today we do have 8 hives. However, this past winter was hard and we lost half of them, so we're rebuilding. So don't ask me for honey yet. Wait until we start pulling it out. It'll be sometime in July.
And I've tried the creamed cinnamon honey from their hives, and it's wonderful. And also, any home brewers, honey makes a good additive to your home brew, too. On behalf of the district, thank you for participating in the International Speech Contest.
So for our third place winner, that goes to Ramesh Shadrani.
Get a picture, if you don't mind.
Kodak moment.
Make sure that it's open.
They need 5 more minutes.
Yeah, just 5 more minutes.
And 3. And 1.
Okay, now for our second place winner, that person goes to Debbie Hyde. all waiting for, the #1 position in first place goes to Jeff Williams.